And I'm back with, well, I can't say with anything, but I'm back on Final Fantasy 14. I am going to now discuss my thoughts on 4.0 expansion, but before we do, I'm gonna have to let you guys know this video won't be as long since server reset is at 10, and if you look at my local time, it says 9:43. So I'm gonna Q4. Guess what? Da, 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 da. Mentor roulette. I don't really run this as often, but I should. Anyways, predictions, thoughts. So much stuff coming out with the Final Fantasy 14 Stormblood patch, and everybody's just going crazy talking about 4.0 and the possibilities that it can bring. So some of the stuff that's been going down. Well, we already know the location. It's gonna be in Alamego, however you pronounce it. Not Little Alamego, but the legit Alamego. This dungeon. Alrighty. Banana slurp. So, honestly, when it comes down to it, the main thing that everybody's thinking about is the classes. So what new classes are going to be made? We just finished the 4.0 storyline. Honestly, could say Red Mage might be a thing. Most likely will be a thing. Probably a 90% chance you will see a Red Mage in this game. So that being said, how will they fight? So many speculations going off. They may just be casters. But seeing how I was watching the video earlier, what I just done with the 4.0 patch, and rewatching the fight with the Warriors of Darkness, and seeing how that unfolded, it was like Alizé was fighting more like a paladin, which kind of brings up a little interest to me. It makes me wonder if it will be a branch off the Paladin class. Will it be like you must have Paladin along with these two other classes maxed out in order to unlock Red Mage? Maybe Paladin and Black Mage. Maybe Paladin and White Mage. Maybe a combination of things. Maybe Paladin and Arcanist. That actually does seem legit. Seeing how the sword came right out of a book, it would make sense to combine Paladin and Arcanist to do that. They may actually do combo classes to mate some of these new classes, and Paladin and Arcanist could be the new Red Mage. If that's the case, then what about Samurai? What would Samurai be a cross combination of? You got heavy armor, which represents Dragoon, and big swords, which represents Dark Knight, and heavy armor also represents Dark Knight, so I don't know, maybe Dark Knight and Ninja becomes a Samurai class? That's another possibility. Again, this is all speculations. That's if they combine classes, because from this interview I was reading, they did say that this would bring Stormblood will bring some of the classes to their final form. If that's the case, then that would mean that those classes will either have to evolve into something else, or something new is going to have to happen. And it does seem like something new may happen. So it's kind of interesting to see. It was really cool to see the Red Mage come out and the story come out the book and stuff. So it got my mind going. If that's the case, then what would dance would be? A combination of Bard and Monk? That would mean that dancers would have to be able to create music and songs and all that other stuff. It's entirely in the possibility. I wouldn't rule anything out at this point. Square Enix is doing their own thing. But till then, until the Tokyo Game Show, which is probably going to come out really soon from what I read. It should be out really soon. They already got the stuff on the Lodestone talking about if you pre-order and if you paid for the stream, you will get access to what was it? A Lulu minion. They already gave away the Riku minions, so now they're doing Lulu. And they're sticking to the Final Fantasy X theme. Also heard rumors of a Final Fantasy X-2 coming out. That's actually pretty interesting. Well, not 2. 10-2 already been the same. 10-3 coming out. So that's that, but that's off topic. I will say what got me most hyped for Stormblood is the revamped battle system I'm hearing about. That got me going crazy. I would love to see more on that. Oh, he's dying. Can't let that happen. With the revamped battle system, what they're going to do is they're going to add in this thing of a shared skill tree, which all DPS classes will share the same skill tree, all tank classes and all healer classes will share the same skill tree. This both scares me and at the same time makes me a bit happy because, you know, some of the tank skills were lacking for some of the other classes, but at the same time, other skills that was borrowed from certain classes are going to be missing. For example, warriors were able to cross-class internal release from the monk class and Featherfoot. The cross class. To think a warrior in the future not being able to cross class those skills are like, I don't know what to do. Like, right now, the scholars, maybe they'll have the casters broken down into separate classes as well as the melees broken down into separate classes. If that's the case, then that would mean that the casters will have their class and then the melees will have their thing. And they probably group range with melees. I don't know. So you probably have like physicers. There's so many different ways they can do it. You can have like ranged melees. You can have like all DPS. The way they make it sounds like it would be tank, DPS, and healer classes type of share trees. So the one thing you hear a lot of people talking about is tanks being able to use provoke without having to level up Paladin. It'd just be a skill on the tree that they just go and pluck from it and say like, yo guys, I got provoked now. I don't have to play Paladin, I just play Dark Knight. So that being said, it just makes it where playing other tank classes are easy and don't require you to play a lot as you would now. They're talking about combining certain skills like Rampart and Darks. What was it? Rampart and Shadowskin. They both are pretty much the same skill, so they talked about cutting that down and combining those. Pretty cool. And they also said they were going to make some of the skills go away. Now, one of the skills, well, not, or improve. The way they described it in the interview, he talked as if they were just going to improve certain skills. But the way they said they would just remove some skills in general. So I would see if they were going to remove certain skills, they would probably remove skills like, I don't know, try bind or something like that. But they could also, they said it was thinking to improve skills. So when it comes to improving skills, I would probably, they was mentioning improving the skill like Featherfoot and giving it different effects. I was thinking about Black Mage when it came to that retrospect. They talked about Black Mage a lot in that interview, and honestly I'm pretty sure they're gonna buff Black Mage in quite a few ways to do that. Quite a few ways to do that. I would say one of my smallest pet peeves, I won't say I have that many peeves about Black Mage because I made Black Mage for years and I love Black Mage. I still love Black Mage. I would never hate on Black Mage. Hell, when I play Astrologia, I get a Black Mage on my team all the cards sometimes, so I'm like, Black Mage, oh, Black Mage for life. But, you know, I personally know that there's some things with that class that I feel could be done better. Black Mage, for one thing, don't have a single damage-based offensive global cooldown. Like, well, off global cooldown, my bad. I said that so badly. They don't have a single damage-based off global cooldown. Like, all their off global cooldowns are power-ups. And that's one of my meh situations. Like, yeah, it's nice to have all these power-ups, but where's the damage? And then I look at a skill like Freeze, and the first thing hit my mind is like, what if they made that like off global? That would actually make it a useful move. I would see Black Mage use that more. people will find a way to incorporate that into their rotations and make it powerful. Swift cast, flare, transpose, freeze. Combinations like that would just be like, oh, Black Mage got good. You made Black Mage great again. Yeah, that was on target effect, but this thing's using no cooldown whatsoever. But yeah, I would say like something like that can make freeze useful. Or if they go the other route, which I kind of hope they don't, because I do like freeze being in the game, they could remove freeze and replace it with something else. Other abilities I've seen being like off global could be moves like Quake. Bringing Quake back and making that off global, maybe adding in like Demi, or even adding in an ability like Quake. What did I say? Break? Quake, Tornado, all those moves. Those are Black Mage moves, and I can see them bringing that back and making them shine a bit. As for summoners, most of the summoner rotation is like off global. They pretty much just like destroy everything with burst damage. Of course, to take the Aether Flow stacks, Black Mage probably would just have theirs on more of a 1 minute timer or maybe 30-second timer, so won't come back as fast as summoners. And I think that would balance out both classes in a way. Honestly, when Heaven's Ward came out, it just felt like every caster class, they just said, fuck you guys, y'all getting nerfed. And summoners was like, yeah, you can have Death Flare. That's gonna be like a move that does 400 potency to every enemy on the field without any damage loss at all. On top of that, we'll give you your dots, which does about 110 points of damage per tick. And we give you these pests that do more damage. And yeah, you know what? We'll even give you Inkendo, which does even more damage. So it's like summoners are like the king of AoE damage in this game, and nothing wrong with that. It's just when people look at casters and add casters to raid group, they're like, we're looking for someone who can do AoE. And it kind of defeats the purpose when there's only one class that's good at it. Like, you look at Black Mage. Black Mage got decent AoE, don't get me wrong. Their AoE is good. But when it comes to comparing to summoners, it's nothing, almost. Like, a good Black Mage can put some serious AoE damage. I've seen it done. I've done it. It's just, it was so much easier to do it on summoners, like child's play. Like, yo, I didn't have to think. I just do my dice up, Bane, pop Pain Flare, pop Bane, drew out a Fester, went Dreadworm and Death Flare, and everything was dead, you know? Like, it all happened really fast. They're not living anymore. That's all that matters. And I don't know, I just want them to bring, even if they just did small things, like I feel Gravity is nerfed before it even came out. Flare is nerfed. Holy got nerfed. Like, moves that made these classes great back in the around Reborn got really nerfed in Heaven's Ward, because I don't know, it just felt like they wanted summoners to have this light, this moment in the spotlight, and it did. But I think now it's time to make the other classes good again when it comes to the AoE damage. Not that they were bad, not that they wasn't OP. Black Mage was OP, but now summoners is kind of becoming a new OP, and I don't know. At first I thought it was aiming for balance, and now it just feels like they're not. It's like we want this class to be OP. We want this class to look good right now. Astrologian right now, for example, with the 3.4 patch, became one of the most broken healing classes of all time, and you starting to see groups say like, we're gonna run Astrologian and Scholar, and I played Astrologian the last 2 weeks when I was raiding, and it's like those card buffs were significant. But seeing how I named Scholar, we're ideally looking for our white mage to play Astrologian, and he's just like, he don't see that happening because he don't know how to play Astro. So I'm like, let me kind of try to teach you, but them card buffs, man, those card buffs are really OP. 10% damage increase and everything. And then on top of that, the class is not that shitty of a healer. It's actually a really good healing class. I never struggled healing people on it. Anything, I'm healing less now. So Astrologians really stepped their game up. But it just seems now that people are starting to look at white mage like, what you got? What you got? Like, really? So some of the things that white mage can do in the future could really bring them back. And that's why, if you guys was watching my last stream and you heard me freak out when that little white mage Lalafell came up there and cast that fire arrow on, well, cast her fire buff on that arrow, I was like, oh shit. Did she cast like Iron Fire or something? That looks like an ability that white mage will get that could power up the DPS. And if they do give white mage an ability like that, yeah, white mage will bounce back. Like, if they just gave white mage an ability that says this increases your DPS damage by 10%, then yeah, white mage are gonna shine. And if that's the case, yeah, they will really shine. People will bring white mage to raise and stuff, because in reality, even if it's not an AoE buff, they may make it where it is an AoE buff. Just having a 10% damage increase spell for a healing class and making it guaranteed is more than enough to make that class see more use in the raid scene. Like, oh, I don't have to draw RNG and I don't have to wait 30 seconds. I can just cast 10% damage increase. Alright, I'm gonna do that. You know? Put a 30-second timer on that and white mage is good. It'll bring white mage back. Yeah, if they had to do it on individual targets, then they'd target the DPS one at a time, but you know, that could be a continuous damage buff, and that's what makes that looks really, really good when you draw it into perspective. Man, what abilities do I have? I have 3. Protect, arrow. Like I said, when brought in perspective, that makes the abilities look really, really good. So I just think white mage are gonna make a small comeback when it comes to the Nessus patch, and that's that. But one of the classes they did mention making a small comeback, but not a legit comeback, is Paladin. They say they hope to do something unique with this new share system, and what they plan on doing is combining all the small skills like Rampart and stuff, which allows them to focus more on making the main aspects of the class shine. And what they want to do with Paladin is make them come to the front and be like their team supporters. Probably more moves similar to what you have now, which is, what was that ability they use? Divine Veil. They probably try to make more moves similar to Divine Veil and make it where they protect their teammates more. I've heard mixed reviews on that. I've heard people say things like, no one cares about Paladins being able to protect their teammates. What makes Paladins sucks in the raid scene is the fact that they can't do damage. And I was like, it shouldn't be all about damage. And that's kind of what Square Enix is probably trying to get at. It's like, if you guys are focused solely on damage, like, look at this raid here. Most of the people I know who've done stuff, done it based off of, you know, their teams. And a lot of teams I've seen clear content early were Paladin counts, because even now the damage output is really high and you want to mitigate a lot of that damage. Either that or the groups go out their way to throw extra vitality mills so that it makes life easier on the healers, and a lot of people don't want to give up their damage. So if you don't want to give up your damage, then bringing a Paladin does kind of make sense, you know. But having everybody focus on damage kind of put that risk factor of death kind of high. So Paladins kind of make it where, you know, dumb DPS can lollygag a bit more. Paladins will see some lights in a lot of raid groups, but when it comes down to it, people are going to try to get like a quote-unquote skilled raid group of players who are going to do things like focus on nothing but damage. And that's why, in the long term, I can see a lot of people trying to say damage is the key, damage, 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 and try to bring damage back. But that's not where, it's going to be kind of iffy. Paladin's going to always be iffy. Do you want a class that can protect your teammates? It depends if that class can do damage or not. Because if they make it where Paladins could do good damage and protect their teammates and make it where Dark Knight do even more damage, then of course people are going to still lean towards Dark Knight because they're going to be like, Dark Knight brings more damage to the table. It's why Warriors shine right now, because Warriors bring more damage to the table. I don't know, it's just the only way they could make Paladins really, really shine in the long run is if Paladins get a slash debuff. If Paladins get a slash debuff, then you have two options, and that would be to bring a Warrior, which can bring offense and slash debuff, or a Paladin, which can bring defense and slash debuff. And if that was the case, then yeah, I can see that working out. Or if they just gave Paladins, I don't know, a trait that make it where Shield Oath takes away no damage, has no damage penalty. And they could become just the main tanks of the game and give Dark Knights a slash debuff. If that's the case, then you would have to choose between Warrior or Dark Knight as your off tank. Either or could be really, really good, like I said. Two good options. But if they just make Paladin this, I'm gonna be defense and nothing but defense and have no damage whatsoever or bring no utility for the team, that class is really, really gonna have a hard time shining outside of hard content. Like, people are gonna look at it and say, that class just brings defense, and we need more than that in our lives. Unless bosses hit super, super insanely hard, people are gonna always stick to the offense route, sadly. I've heard it said by many players, offense is key. And sure, if you kill the boss fast enough, you don't have to worry about him. Oh, let me turn my volume back up. I don't really need my volume being low anymore. I've been adjusting my stream settings and everything, and I can really turn my volume back up. When it comes down to it, though, when it comes down to it, I just hope they balance out the classes. What class would Red Mage be? If Red Mage is indeed an advanced class, I can see Red Mage being an advanced class of Paladin, which would probably increase the Paladin's DPS, if it's indeed an advanced class. If not, then so be it. Who knows, Stormblood may not necessarily introduce new jobs and new classes, but it may actually introduce advanced classes. And if that's the case, then Dancer could be an advanced class for Monk. And Red Mage could be an advanced class for Paladin. All because of an advanced class system. And if that's the case, then Samurai could be an advanced class of Ninja. Dragoon, for that matter. But I don't think Dragoon will go away. And these could just be like the start of the advanced classes, you never know. But it wouldn't be fair for them to advance some of the classes, and not all of the classes. So that's kind of the iffy thing of even adding in advanced classes. So it's all up in the air. They could just be new classes altogether. And if they are new classes altogether, it's gonna be nice, but cray. It's gonna be really cray. I can't really move right now. I've got some leveling to do. This drag, not good. Well, my mental roulette for the day is done. The Pikachu. I gotta give it to her for being cute. Pass on that. So let me sit back and stretch out here. My mic may actually be gooder than I thought. So the Paladin thing could go either way. There's so much they could do with Paladin. They could buff Sordo. They said stances that won't be, abilities that aren't used as much will probably get removed. So probably get ready to say goodbye to cover. Cover is used, but it's not used very often. I guess if they was looking at the charts, you would see cover probably have like, I don't know, 5-10% usage rate, which isn't that high. In most content, you really hardly ever use cover. And that's because if cover was useful, then everything would need cover. And instead, it's not a cross-class skill, it's not useful at all. And so people just avoid using cover altogether. So cover may actually be removed or enhanced in a way. Ways to enhance it, I don't know. There's probably gonna be a way that says when you use cover, it increases your defense, but make it where your party takes no damage or something like that. I don't know. There's plenty of ways to make cover better. They may actually change it to another defensive buff that make you stronger. Some of the other classes, monks, they already mentioned Featherfoot, warriors, they mentioned their stacks changing, so instead of having infuriation, well, infuriate will instead of giving you those wrath stacks and fury stacks or whatever those stacks were, you just get one different set of stacks. They mentioned all these being possibilities. One thing they kept talking about was Black Mage in their NO Chin. They kept heavily hinting that Black Mage should be able to stay in their damage up state for almost the entire fight. Sounds like buffing NO Chin will just continuously reset the buff, if not add more to the timer. If that's the case, Black Mage could pretty much become one of the most OP and broken classes in the game again. I still think they should unnerf Flare though. I think casters should stay in the realm of we do great AoE damage. Bars and machinists should be in the realm of we do good AoE and good physical damage. And melee should be like we do good single target damage, you know. So it's like single target, in AoE with good single target. Like, I don't know. I like the fact that Black Mages can hit hard right now, but I still think their AoE should be sufficient. And with melees, like, I think melee should be like the king of single target damage. It's base it off of your LB, like. And speaking of LB, they do need to buff that machinist LB. The machinist and bar LB is like not that great right now. So there's kind of like so many grounds that they could do it with. There's so many ways they could do things. The battle system is the main thing that got me going cray over for Stormblood, and I think that's what got everybody going crazy. I would say some of the other features in Stormblood sounds pretty cool. I got the chart here. They're talking about Eureka. It's kind of interesting. I wasn't even paying attention to the 3.5 patch as much, but people mentioned that there will be a Diadem 2 or a second version of Diadem or something like that, where there's going to be challenges, and based off what the guy said in this interview, there's going to actually be a 4-man raid inside of that Diadem, and the reward should be something unique, different, or good. Who knows what this could bring? They may try to bring Diadem back, kind of similar to what they did before, and make it where if you do this content, you probably get 270 gear, or maybe 265 gear. That is unique, probably have different stats, or maybe you can customize the stats. If that's the case, then yeah, running that would be great. You're gonna have people running inside of Eureka trying to get this gear, or Diadem 2 in this case, trying to get this gear. People are gonna be like, this gear will give you up to 270 really fast if you can get a decent raid group, go in there and clear this content consistently. Could bet there's gonna be videos teaching people how to clear content. They're gonna breeze through it, get these 270 pieces once a week, and come out with unique gear. And if you can customize the stats, oh man. Or they may do it where the stats are random. You can just get the ones that match you best, like they do with the regular Diadem gear. If you can customize the stats in that gear, just think about it. It'll be your best of slot gear no matter what you do. or it could be gear customized and tailored to you. There's so many things they could do with that, and if that's the case, then yeah, when they release Eureka in Stormblood, it's gonna be one of the go-to places. And that's a whole nother topic. Things I have heard was my FC members want to talk to me. I guess I'll go join them in a bit. But I'm gonna talk for a little bit longer. One of the other things I have heard about Stormblood, go chill at the FC house a bit, was rumors of possible relic armor. As of right now, we are aware that they have relic weapons in the game. I have my 260 relic, and in Stormblood, they're gonna release the 270 relic. Well, not Stormblood, but 3.5. I'm getting stuff mixed up. Forgive me, I'm bad. I'm bad at life. But the 3.5 patch is supposed to bring out the 270 relic weapon, and with that is gonna come better stats, and that's one of the reasons I'm kind of looking at. If I don't get my Scholar Book by raid by past 3.5, you know, I'm just gonna look and say it ain't worth it, because like my relic weapon is gonna come out to be stronger than my raid weapon based off the stat weights by the time 3.5 come out. So that being said, all or nothing. I'm pretty much just gonna finish the raid. I'm gonna go it. The main thing I want out of the raid really is my chest piece. That's really all I really want out the raid. Other than that, I don't really care too much for anything else. All or nothing. Fuck this game. Oh. So that's that, but raid talk aside, that's a whole nother story. I'm sorry I have not even been recording my raids. That's how fast we got through all the raids this week. But to get as far as we got Tuesday night, I could see us clearing A12 this week if everybody bring their A game and we clean up the small mistakes, because the final phase doesn't even seem that hard. I got my notes right here about the raid and everything. I'm ready to go in there and clear it as soon as everybody else is talking side. Back on topic. The relic armor could be a thing, and that could be what Eureka's talking about. The way he describes Eureka, he's like, you've seen the content in the game, and we've done this stuff before with relic weapons and items and stuff. So what he was saying was, mayhaps. Oh, by the way, before I continue, check out the FC Mention. I'm sorry I get a little scatterbrained and stuff, but this is the FC Mention. I paid for it, but our FC members have been going crazy during decorations. I was like, look, I may have bought the mansion, but you guys made this place home. They decorated this place and made it nice. And even now, like almost every time I come in here, every day, they got like a new setup in the FC house, and it always feels refreshing. So yeah, that being said, back on topic. I should really stay on topic because I'm kind of forgetting where I was now. But the way he was talking about the relic armor and relic weapons, he was like, we've seen this before. We was kind of running out of ideas, so we created Eureka. So I guess what they're trying to do now is put these relic weapons, relic items, you know, rare stuff inside this area called Eureka, and make it where you go there and unlock your relics. You get your relic armor, your relic weapons, your, you know, entire set, and then you can customize it to your liking and do things that way. They say some people are gonna want to go there, some people not. You know, it's gonna probably be torturous and a lot of work to get this gear, a lot of work to get this armor and stuff. But if that's the case, then Eureka will probably be like its own little world. So think about it. You have the main world, where you probably get your best weapons and gear and all that stuff from the raid, and then you have Eureka, where you probably get your best weapon, gear, and stuff from fighting in Eureka. If this is the case, and it's entirely a possibility, like I said, I can see Eureka getting updated every odd number patch and every even number patch being a raid. Here's challenging content. Alright, you done with that? Here's challenging content, but not as challenging. If not, they probably release them both at the same time, so that you have something for casual players who want to just get good gear and stuff like that and do 4-man raids, and then something for players who wants to challenge themselves and get 8-man raise out. I can see that being a thing too. But literally, they really seem like they're trying to irrigate. Honestly, a lot of the Heaven's Ward patch was like, yo, here's a crafter patch. Here's a baby patch. Here's a big patch. You know, it was really a lot of different things going on with Stormblood. Well, Heaven's Ward. And now you can start to see like Stormblood coming around the corner, and they're talking more and more like, yo, this is a battle patch. I guess they realized not too many people gave a damn about crafting, and now they're starting to say like, we're going to start making things more tailored more to battles and stuff like that. I'm even hearing they're going to try to get rid of the blue scripts and red scripts, which weren't too bad, and maybe even specialist classes would have to go away, but maybe they'll all stay around. I heard a lot of rants on this stuff. Half of these things are desired. Another thing that was desired was the healers. As of right now, and as you can probably tell from looking at my stats and my relic, I'm pretty sure you guys took a glance over it, I got a shit ton of accuracy in my gear. And that's the thing, we have to hit our enemies, and it's hard for a healer to actually hit anything without accuracy. Square Enix is recognizing this, and they also mentioned handling that. How they're gonna handle that, they're unsure of right now. So one thing they mentioned was possibly doing away with accuracy, and that's the one that everybody is like, oh, we really want them to do that. I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback about that from the fans and stuff in my raid group and other raid members. I heard some people disagree with that, but personally, I don't know how I feel on that. I wouldn't want them to do away with accuracy personally, but I would want them to do more with it, or make it less required. Maybe do away with it for certain classes, maybe not, who knows. But if they did do away with it, I wouldn't be opposed to that. It would make healing, it will make healers be able to focus more on healers, and DPS be able to focus more on DPS, you know? It'll make tanks be able to focus more on tanking as well as DPS, and it's so much that can be done there with accuracy. Like literally my stats are so far away from piety right now. I have literally no piety. You see me on my scholarship right now, and this is like very little piety, and honestly when I get my chest piece out the raid, my MP is going to drop down to probably 11,000. Most likely going to drop down to like 11,000. Actually, I took my chest piece off, it will drop down to 11,000, which is very low piety for a healer. Most healers want to be around 13,000, 14,000, around there with their MP, and my MP is like not even there. Surprisingly enough, I keep people alive. I heal like a mug. I pretty much try to sync up with the fairy like crazy, but scholar, I can see that I'm gonna need piety. Sorry about that, I had an interruption. But yeah, I can see piety being a really good stat in the future. Well, I can see myself stacking more in the piety if accuracy wasn't a thing. Sorry, I got so confused when people come in like that. But another stat people want to do away with is parry. Only because parry isn't a damage stat. And people saying, with it being not a damage stat, it's kind of useless. But that's not primarily the thing. I learned from the guy in the interview, which I never even knew this part, parry only works when you're facing the enemy. And I've also learned that, well, I've also knew that parry doesn't really work on magic damage. So that being said, parry was pretty much a very crafty stat, because the only way you could parry was to face an enemy that was physical. And being that half the enemies in this game are pure magical, you could not even parry half of their attacks. So the only way to make parry useful would make it to parry magical attacks, and on top of that, make it similar to what they did with auto attacks, and allow you to parry from all angles. If they were to do that, then parry would be a great stat. It would be one of the most useful stats, and tanks would use it more. Even though now tanks are still earning away from parry, they say like, who cares about it? We need damage stats. So the only other option would be to remove parry from the game also. People saying remove parry. It takes a lot of strategy out the game then. It takes customization out the game. And that's kind of the thing. If you remove parry and remove accuracy, then you really remove customization. If they redo the accuracy stat and change them to something else, then that's different too. I don't know, if they remove parry and replaced it with an evasiveness stat, I could be down for that. Evasiveness is actually a stat I would be down for, because you do dodge magic in this game. You can also, and if they just replace it with a stat that counts towards evasiveness and parrying, then stacking that stat will also allow you to dodge magic as well as block attacks, and that would be a pretty decent stat to give tanks. As well as if it also increases the block rate, that also is a thing too. We could also remove all of that, and we could spec that into a new stat called luck, which has been a stat in old Final Fantasy games that has been missing from current games. And we could probably say like, if you're lucky you crit more, if you're lucky you parry more, if you're lucky you dodge more, and people will probably put more points into luck stats. There's plenty of ways they can improve stats, but in terms of stats being changed, that's the thing. Maybe they'll buff parry like they did with crit and Heaven's Ward. Crit became one of the most OP stats everybody's saying. You hear people say like, it's all crit, just crit, 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 crit. And crit is good, I won't hate it. But as a Stormblood, crit is good, but it's kind of subpar good. It's really good though. It's still probably one of the best stats in the game, if not still the best stat in the game. What else was mentioned about Stormblood? My list here is kind of narrowing down now. Rare 72-hour respawn monsters. Monsters that respawn every 72 hours. Not entirely sure how I feel about that. One thing that makes me not feel like a monk is not a, like, Dancer isn't an advanced class, and the whole advanced class thing may be a blur. Just the opening of Stormblood, the trailer they showed, had a monk fighting a Dancer. Kind of would be hard for you to be fighting your advanced class possible, but you know, you would kind of want to pit two classes against each other, not an advanced class against a lower class. Unless they were just trying to show training. If that was the case, then yeah, that could be a thing. They showed Dancer really do well in that fight too. Like, it was holding his own. There's a lot of stuff mentioned in the interview, and a lot of stuff that was talked about over the past 2 weeks. I got the list right here. Let me read through it. Black Mage was mentioned a lot. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so there's a good reference. Okay. There's so much stuff to read. There's one more thing though I forgot to mention. As a Stormblood patch, there will be no more PS3 support. So sadly, anybody who plays on PS3 is gonna have to upgrade to a PS4. Feelings on that? I already upgraded. I'm on my PS4 Pro right now, as mentioned. I am excited to upgrade, and if everything goes well, I'll be starting a new job come January, so I'll be able to make all that money back. And I take good care of my stuff, so my PS4 Pro probably won't be breaking anytime soon. I'm gonna be taking great care of it. I should be set for the next 4 or 5 years. If not 2 or 3 years, I got my warranty set up. Everything's great. I should be okay. If it breaks within the next year, I can go get a new one for free. So, in my case, it's good. But I have a friend. She's like, she don't have the money to upgrade the PS4. Otherwise, she would upgrade the PS4, jump in the chat with us and talk to us. She's a very sweet lady. We love talking to her. She's like a sister to me. And I just understood her situation, saying, okay, you won't be able to do certain things then. And now they're saying, we're going to cut support from PS3, which means in order to continue playing Final Fantasy 14, she has to upgrade to PS4. Her options would be to quit playing Final Fantasy 14 altogether, but then that also leaves her very limited gaming options too. She eventually is going to have to upgrade to a PS4, which means she's going to have to save up and stuff, and she's hitting it really hard. She's been through a rough life. And my thing is, I just want her to be able to keep playing the game. And I don't know, Stormblood just may take some of the people away from the game. But it kind of weed out the weak and bring in the strong and stuff like that. Even the guy who even the guy at the interview was saying himself, like, he wasn't cheering like the other people were, but he knew that it had to be said. You are in a new generation of consoles. You gotta upgrade. And eventually, that's gonna be the case for all things. Like, everybody gotta eventually make the upgrade. The PS4 can do a lot, but it can't do everything. PS4 Pro can do a lot. So if they come out with a PS5, I probably could cling on to my PS4 Pro for a while. But I'm gonna have to make the upgrade probably soon. I don't know. Probably would wait before buying a new console though. If they come out with a PlayStation 5, I would probably wait a year before I buy it. I have been one of those people who went and bought a game console, you know, day one if I really liked it. So I will probably wait a year for a PS5. Anyway, still off topic, but my purpose being, my character went offline. My purpose being, there was a lot of good games that came out in that last year, the PS3 cycle, that I wanted to play and I never played, and I would have played if I did upgrade to a PS4. So I may wait a year, play all those great games that comes out on PS4, and then upgrade to PS5. By then, the price of PS5 probably come down, or they probably have some amazing bundle. And they probably worked out to cancel all the bad ones. So yeah, that's something I'm looking to do. That being said, PS4 support, it sucks. So they're talking about changing the gameplay entirely, and there's like 3 pages to this interview. It's on reddit.com. I could post this link on my YouTube page, and you know what? I probably will. I'll probably post a link on my YouTube page if you guys want to know more about it. So instead of making this video drag on any longer, I'll just post a link. You guys can read the rest of the interview. I said my thoughts. I told you my thoughts on the classes and which classes I would love to see shine more. Honestly, I pretty much feel Monk is going to be good cool. They're talking about kind of making it feel like a Street Fighter game, or a fighting game in general, where you get this little bar in the corner and it fills up when you get your Grease Lightning 3 stacks and everything. I'm like, oh snap, this sounds cool as fuck. Then you have Dragoons. They're talking about managing blood for blood a lot easier and making the Dragoons fun to play. People are going to be happy to play Dragoons now. In terms of Machinists, I don't see what else they can do. Machinists is buffed up. Bars are buffed up. Probably make them more supportive. That's the only thing left to do at this point. Ninjas pretty good. If you're talking about the useless skills, I think every class has some. And if they was to remove useless traits, and yeah, ninjas got some traits that are pretty damn useless that can be removed. I don't mind that. Bard songs, probably some of the songs that Bard used can be removed. Probably get rid of Swift song, because Swift song is hardly ever used in the raid scene. But it's really good when you're trying to feed around to a dungeon. When it comes down to Black Mage, Freeze is obviously one that's going to probably get removed. When it comes down to Summoner, Carbine is obviously one that's probably going to get moved. Paladins, Cover. Warriors, I don't know, I think I used almost all my skills on Warrior. With Monks, you got the 1M punch, that's never used. And the Fist of Destruction, that's pretty much never used also. I mean, I guess it does silence, but other than silence, it's never used. Monks got like 2 or 3 moves that's never used hardly. Haymaker's hardly even used. Then you have ninjas. Ninjas, you pretty much use all the ninja moves. I don't think there's not one move that people have. Like, people bring ninjas because you can use their abilities. Dragons, their AoE drains a lot of TP. I say I use Doom Spike over Ring of Storms. No, I do use Ring of Storms over Doom Spike. I forget the move. I don't play Dragons that much. But I use Ring of Storm over Doom Spike. And I can see Dragons kind of getting rid of Doom Spike and getting something more cooler. Trying to think of Warriors. I know Dark Knights use all their abilities. If you're not using all your abilities on Dark Knight, then something to do up. I don't know, maybe Dark Mind. No. What is that move? Dark Dance. Maybe Dark Dance will get moved, upgraded or something. Dark Dance will probably get upgraded. Warrior's Foresight may actually get removed and replaced with that 20% damage mitigation ability. And then they all make it their own 20% damage mitigation ability. On top of that, you never know. They may get 2 of them. There may be a 20% defense increase, 20% damage mitigation, and there may be a 40% damage mitigation. So if that's the case, then Warrior's going to need new abilities to build their stats, because Vengeance built the stats. So yeah, there's plenty of ways this can go. That can go on the shared hotbar, can be removed from the game altogether. It's mentioned Blood for Blood probably being the Dragoon exclusive move and just adding some other damage buff. But if that's the case, then Dragoon's damage jump even more. They've mentioned Featherfoot being changed. I'm pretty sure Eternal Release is going to be added there for crit damage. If they just keep Eternal Release for Monk, then they got to add something else that can boost crit, which makes Monk's crit even harder. And they said these moves would be open to Black Mage. So I was like, wait, you telling me you're gonna make Black Mage even harder than they do now? So if any of this happens, you can bet DPS damage is gonna spike, but then that becomes my concern. What will happen with tanks in that retrospect? Will tanks start to lose their... I don't know. Will tanks really have struggle holding aggro? Will you have to stay in tank stance throughout the entire fight and just say, fuck it, I can't be DPS anymore. I gotta just be a tank and hold enmity off the DPS. If that's the case, then you feel less like a, you know, it forces you to play your attacks, which is kind of what Heaven's Ward tried to break out of us. In Heaven's Ward, they tried to force us to go beyond our class. For Stormblood, if they were to do that, it will force us to stay in our class, because it's gonna be hard for tanks to hold enmity off of other classes if they're getting so much of a damage boost and tanks aren't. Like, the tanks gotta get something to boost their damage. Warriors will probably be okay because Warriors damage is there. But unless they make moves like Royal Authority build enmity, you're gonna be spamming the shit out of Rage of Harlong. You're gonna be popping all your damage buffs, like fight or flight and everything, staying in tank stance and everything, so that you can try to keep hate off of a Dragoon who's probably pulling. You probably got a 50% damage increase on every jump or something, probably 200% damage increase, and just wrecking shit. It's just like, they gotta have to balance it out. They're either gonna have to increase the amount of enmity that tanks are holding, pulling from each hit, or they're gonna have to balance it out some way, because it just seems like the DPS are gonna shine super big in this upcoming patch. As for healers, it's kind of scary to even think that Scholars would go without some of their summoner abilities. Well, if Scholars continue the route that they're going right now, then they will still have the summoner abilities, but it's kind of like, I don't know, will healers be able to have access to Swift Cast? Most likely you want that. Or will they have a move similar to Swift Cast? Will healers have their own separate skill tree? Or will healers be able to dabble into a caster skill tree? And then that comes back to that whole thing of what type of skill trees will we have? What type of share system will they be? Will it be a caster share system? If that's the case, then all casters will be able to have access to Swift Cast, Sure Cast, you know, Cleric Stance. That would actually be pretty damn good, really. Think about it. If you was a Scholar and you had access, if you was a Summoner and you had access to Cleric Stance, they could probably change the effect of Cleric Stance to also swap mine with Int, also. And give you a 10% damage increase and 10% healing increase, whichever. Which would kind of, if they did that, it would be kind of crazy, because then you have healers stacking intelligence and then swapping it over to mine. Like, it would make sense to give Scholars complete intelligence set and swap that over to mine, but then healer gear is all mine and TPS gear is all. It's kind of a iffy thing, because your majority of your main stats are going to go into one stat, but then when you hit your Cleric Stance, they're going to swap over to the next. If they were to do that, then yeah, all the casters will be able to heal, all the casters will be able to raise, not in battle, because only healers will be able to raise in battle, but all casters will have the healing capabilities. Summoners will be able to raise in battle, of course, so summoners will become even more of a multitasking caster, because if people die, pop on Cleric Stance, heal them up. And that would actually be a pretty broken situation right there. Like, I can see that really becoming a shining moment for most classes, even if they just kept the 10% damage increase and healing potency down. it would still be better healing than what a summoner and black mage can output right now. So if they put like a caster shared system, then yeah, I can see that happening. But I just wish that Astrologian did something that can be cross-class, like put disable or something on that bar, because if that's the case, you're looking at Astrologian being able to dip in and take all these abilities from these other classes but never giving. And that's kind of was my pet peeve with Stormblood. The new, well, Heavensward. The new classes just took from the skill trees, but they never gave anything back. And that's kind of like, really? Y'all did. Like, come on, share. Every other class shared something, share something. Although most of the ninja abilities aren't really shareable, so I can't really say anything on that. Ninjas barely did anything either. But I would really like if they could share some of their abilities with some of the other classes. I don't know, put reassemble on that bar or something. There's so much they can do. They just don't do it. So the shared tree system is just gonna balance things out, I guess. And all the power-ups that came from Bard, could you imagine if they just put all the Bard power-ups on the shared system? Because like Hawkeye is on the shared tree. Everybody share Hawkeye. Everybody share Raging Strikes. Everybody share Blood for Blood, which is in Bard, you know. But Hawkeye and Raging Strikes are two shared abilities that are two of the Bard's biggest damage buffs. So they put those on the skill tree. It's like, what's gonna be there, you know? If those are shared, then what two abilities you give Bards? Will Black Mage, if that's the case, will Black Mage be able to borrow from the DPS tree? Now it's starting to get a little crazy. What type of shared tree system will there be? Will classes have multiple shared trees? Will there be like a caster shared tree? Yeah. Would it be like a caster share and a healer share? Or would it be like a caster melee? Would it be like this class can use these two trees, this class can use these two trees, this class can use these two trees? Will warriors be able to have access to the DPS tree and have like access to other DPS abilities like Eternal Release, Blood for Blood, Raging Strikes, and all that other stuff? If that's the case, then warrior will become, again, the most powerful tank in the game. Like, literally, if all tanks have access to that, then yes, that would be great. Then I could see it balancing out if the tanks had access to both damage and if all the tanks had access to a damage tree and the tank tree, it would balance out, because then all the tanks can put on offensive cooldowns. All the tanks can put on offensive buff. Think about it. You can throw up a defensive buff and pop Blood for Blood and keep your damage up and your defense up. Holding enmity shouldn't be that big of a problem. The tank classes won't be superiorly weak anymore, and they could kind of keep up with the DPS if that's the case. But then what would the DPS have? Just a DPS tree. So a DPS would probably need to get access to a tank tree if that's the case. It's just so many ways this can go, and I'm pretty sure the people making the game right now are very thrown off also. They're like, there's so many ways this can go. We don't even know what we want to do yet, but we will have it done. We already got the idea going. It's in works, and we'll balance it out as Stormblood goes along. They're going to be doing a lot of balancing. I'm pretty sure it's going to probably come out, and some of the classes are going to be broken as fuck. Warriors may be hitting for like 20,000 on stealth leave or something, and they're going to be like, oh, we got to fix this shit, because Pelicans only can do like 7,000 with Royal Authority. We can't let this happen. We got to fix this. But yes, that's one thing. Another thing people were talking about was, as your HP get higher, warrior continue to become the more exceedingly more powerful tank. So let's say by Stormblood we get to level 320 and our HP spikes up to, I don't know, let's say about 40,000. Possible. It's entirely possible to spike from 40,000. We went from 17,000 tanks to like 30,000 tanks now, 32,000 tanks. It's entirely possible to spike to 40,000. That means when a warrior is throwing his tank stance, they're sitting on about 50, if not 52,000. And it's just really high. It's just really high. It's not that. Like, warriors really have a certain time more health than the other classes. And it's like, the higher the health goes, the more and more warrior will continue to eclipse the others. So it's like, let's say tanks got to 100,000 HP, warriors sitting at 125,000. you know, that stone's gonna just that much more stronger. It's like there's things, the stats are gonna be higher. Not saying that the other things are gonna become inferior, it's just that people are saying that as the stats get higher, warrior gap tends to get bigger and bigger because they got more buffs. And then when you add in abilities like Thrill of Battle and stuff, it continues to spike that health even higher. So warriors are kind of one of the powerful classes. So who knows, maybe they get the other tanks to buff with their HP. But for right now, personally, me looking at it and thinking about it, it doesn't seem like it's that great, but it is great. Because if you think about that versus the 25% damage mitigation, I think I would lean towards some damage mitigation over the extra health. But anyways, I said my rant, I spoke my words, and I will end this broadcast here. It wasn't much of a broadcast, it was mostly a talk. And if you guys don't see me streaming anymore, it may be for a short time, it may be for a long time, I don't know. But it's because I'm respecting people's Wi-Fi, and I'm gonna have to do my streaming thing or video thing elsewhere. So I'm gonna bring a flash drive with me when I go back to the other house, and I will record my videos. As I record them, I will, I don't know, probably crop them, take out some of the whites and stuff that goes down in raids, probably take out some of the boring stuff as I crop it out, and get to just the meaty, juicy parts or the good parts. Try to skip over all the fumbling you guys hear me when I'm doing, hear me doing the streams, and get straight to the good points. And if that was the case, I'm just gonna be posting videos on my YouTube page if I can. If not, then I'm sorry about that, but it was nice to do one final stream, and my 3.5 storyline will be the first approach of me recording and saving to a flash drive. If we're not back in this house by then. If so, so be it. But that being said, this is your boy Tempest signing out. Wishing you guys a good day, and have a great one. I forgot how you stop a broadcast. I'm so dumb.